Pledge of allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight, by the way.
Councilor Elderthorpe? Here. Councilor Segala?
Here.
Councilor Schleba?
Here.
Councilor Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Becker?
Here.
The quorum is declared.
Approval of consent agenda. Minutes of the regular meeting of January 18th. Review and approval of accounts payable.
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Nita?
Councilor Elderthorpe?
Aye.
Councilor Segala?
Aye.
Councilor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilor Schleba?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Citizen comments, special presentations. Extending Chico Camino to Lariat Road. Don Martinez.
All right, I want to thank the mayor, Dale, council members, and Kathy, councilwoman, for letting me speak here today. And before I start, looks like this will be a fairly quick meeting today, council meeting. I want to thank Rob for getting our Lariat neighborhood watch signs put up in the area there. I think we've definitely seen a drop in the crime and some of the shady characters that have been running around out there. So I think they know that there's people watching and there's people that care about the neighborhood. So Rob, thanks buddy.
Thank you.
I come for you today. I've spoken with some of the neighbors there in the Lariat and Curlemaster additions about what they think is something that could maybe have an immediate impact for the residents that live on that south end of town down there. And frequently I get a comment from them that they'd like to see Chico Camino continue clear over to Lariat Road because there's roughly maybe 150 or so residents that live out there. And there's others that live just right outside the city limits there that come and they go to Top Value, Big R, the city offices, the doctor's offices. And they tell me that it's a little bit of a maybe inconvenience to go all the way around to Broadway to Grand and come back over here. Not only does it cost them more gas, time, there's also a little bit of a safety factor there. A lot of us will come down Dennis Street, Davis, all these other streets that run north to intersect Grand here. And I think pretty much everybody knows that the daylighting as you turn left there pretty much off of any of those streets is really terrible. You almost need to go past the stop sign, look left, and then be able to proceed. Otherwise, you could get hit by another vehicle there. So that's one of the safety factors. I think the neighbors that live in those streets from Morris clear down to even Batterson probably would maybe even appreciate less traffic going down those streets. Victor, I know, works just right over here. It'd even probably save you about 5 minutes, huh? Getting to work every day. So we just wanted to see what it would take. I even had a person tell me that this little subdivision that's over there, there's only one resident there, Brenda Nerano. She lives there all by herself. But that's a great area right there that could be developed, more tax revenue for the city. And somebody actually said maybe if more people drive through there, they'll see that those lots are available, maybe get somebody like Habitat for Humanity or some of these self-help organizations that with sweat equity, you can build a home out there. Give it more, make it more visual for that. So with that, that's all I wanted to really talk about and see what the city, I know there's things with right-of-ways and a culvert or a bridge would have to put over that ditch there. So there's some things that would have to be done and maybe something the city could explore and see how long it, even if it's possible to maybe continue that road out that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Gotta go back to work. See you guys.
Jerry Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jerry Apker. I'm the manager for the Chamber of Commerce, and I have an application before council today for the use of Sky High Park and for Chapman Park for 4 events. We decided this year, rather than do an application for each individual event, to lump them all together and try and get them all done at once. So I have submitted the rental agreement, the tabulation page for each of the 4 events, and that would be the Southern Rocky Mountain Agricultural Conference and Trade Fair, which is just next week, the Crane Fest, the Home and Garden Show, and then for use of Chapman Park for a new event, which is a Taste of the San Luis Valley that we're going to put together this year out here at Chapman Park. Restaurants, music, some crafts to get people to come, spend some time, enjoy some of the restaurant food fare here in the San Luis Valley. I have submitted our nonprofit certificate with the application. I've submitted our insurance certificate for all of the events, and then I also submitted a discount request before City Council. And my understanding is you need to approve all of the rental agreements as well as any request for additional discounts. So I'll cut right to the chase and let you know that I'm requesting an increase in the amount of discount for the Chamber of Commerce use of Sky High Park and Chapman Park, or Sky High Facility and Chapman Park, from a standard 20% discount offered to nonprofits to a 50% discount. And when I presented that at our Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and Rob Vance was in attendance as liaison with the city, I saw his eyebrows shoot up, and he gulped a little bit, and then when I sent it off on email, I think I heard an audible gulp all the way across the city from Jaime when he saw it. So I know I'm asking for a big discount, but let me offer some of my thoughts, and I have to put on my glasses now because I've got to read some of this. So when you look at the undiscounted amount for rent for the Southern Rocky Mountain Ag Conference, it'll be $3,560. The Crane Fest should be $0 because we have a cooperative agreement between the city, us, and the Crane Fest Committee, or the Friends of the San Luis Valley, Alamosa and Monte Vista National Wildlife Refuges, the group that puts on. And the city commits to allowing the use of Sky High Park for that event. The Home and Garden Expo is $2,080, and the Taste of the San Luis Valley here at Chapman Park would be $550. It may be a little bit different than that because I'm not sure that we're necessarily going to have to use the city stage for that event. We may be able to get it from one of the bands. So the total would come to $6,190. If you accepted the 50% discount, we'd be paying just over $3,000, about $3,100 for the use of those. If you only approved the 20% discount, which is the standard discount for nonprofits, that would be taking $1,238 off the top. So just so you know the numbers. So the Chamber recognizes that we get an awful lot of help for pulling off these events from people like the event committees that help us plan. The city staff is involved in detail, helping to pull off these events. Businesses in the community, including banks, co-op, Coors, and then government, like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, all participate in those events. But the chamber does an awful lot of the heavy lifting, the detailed planning, the making sure that something gets somewhere on time for accomplishing these events, coordinating things, contacting vendors, making sure that everything is set up properly. And so we do all that stuff to make sure that these events are successful and that we draw people to the community. And those people spend time in the community, they spend time in the hotels, they spend time in the restaurants, they drop by the businesses, their car might break down, they need some mechanics help. It's an economic stimulus to the community. So other types of nonprofit events that are there don't generally generate that kind of economic benefit. And I look at it from the standpoint of us trying to help out equal partners in pulling off events and helping to stimulate the economy in the Monte Vista community. So besides the let's see, the Crane Fest, the Home and Garden, the Rocky Mountain Ag Conference, the Taste of San Luis Valley, we're also planning to pull off a birthday event. The City of Monte Vista is 132 years old this year. Nita pointed that out to us. We're planning to close Adams Street with your permission, have a block party with the Chief of Police's permission, have a block party downtown and serve birthday cake for everybody and just celebrate the fact that Monte Vista's been around for a long time and it's a pretty cool community. We collaborate and share the planning and promotion of the dirt drags. We don't do a lot with Stampede, but we provide a place for the sale of tickets. The Stampede is pretty much a self-contained committee. They pull it off mostly themselves, but we collaborate with them. We're involved in the Halloween activities and then the Christmas Bazaar and the Parade of Lights downtown. So all of those events are great for the community, and we hope that you see that it's great for the community, the kinds of things that we're doing. We're not here to hold you hostage. We're not going to take our ball and go home. If you don't approve it, we'd be glad to accept whatever you do approve. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, respond to staff inquiries or anything like that.
Just a quick question. Do you have any thoughts on what, because I know like the Ag Conference coming up, I know that generates a lot because of the number of people that come here. Do you have any ideas?
I don't. If I threw out a number, I'd be making it up, so I'm not even going to try.
Some of that money is really split with the Colorado State University, the Research Center and the Extension Office, and then at the Chamber, if that's what you were asking.
Well, I was kind of looking more for like, I mean, maybe Forrest, you might have an answer to this, of what kind of value it's brought back into the community. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I mean, we can look at our tax records. I don't have that off the top of my head to see what the tax impacts are that are associated with those, and of course we have those historically. You know, I can tell you off the top of my head that Stampede has a significant sales tax benefit. The other events, we'd have to just kind of go back and look at the dates as far as an economic impact. And of course, a lot of the impacts don't result in sales tax per se. So, but that's always been an interesting question of what is the actual economic impact of any one of these. I mean, they're all certainly valuable events in the community. You know, part of the discussion though is the facility itself, which is often given at a discount rate. Councilor Johnson had an opportunity to go tour the facility as it stands earlier this week. And, you know, there's a lot of deferred maintenance on that particular building, and we're looking at, you know, doing some structural things this summer. But one of the reasons that it's in the shape it is because the city has been very generous and given it away per se versus the cost of operating and maintaining it. I'm not saying that this isn't a good idea, but I can't really speak to the actual economic impacts that we receive.
Is it a full house on the Ag Conference?
Yes. Crane Fest booths are all sold out now too.
Nice.
Wow, very good.
So,
just a comment. I'm very much in favor of the
chamber and the chamber's work. And if we were just talking about, you want to use my building out there and just not charge you anything at all, frankly. But there's just an awful lot of other situations you tend to consider. You did bring up, and I appreciate that, about the difference between the chamber and other nonprofits. So yeah, but obviously the question does arise, you know, well, do we change that for all nonprofits? Mm-hmm. You, as the chamber, are a special nonprofit, and of course the others, that doesn't discount any of the others, it just means that you're connected with business here. And that's a big plus, and there's just some other, in my own mind at least, a lot of other considerations, so be looking at that. But I appreciate your presentation, and I really look forward to some of the specific results that the mayor was talking about. So,
just a question for you. The 6,190, that's the total. That doesn't have the 20% discount.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the total.
Anybody think about maybe a compromise there? Do the youth serving organizations discount, which is 35%? Any thoughts on that?
That was my thought earlier. I thought, well, maybe we can meet in the middle and you know, but maybe it requires further discussion too. I don't know. I'm in agreement with Gary. I think the chamber does an awful lot for the city, and you bring an awful lot of money and people in here and exposure, just general exposure, even if it's not in tax dollars, it's bringing people to Monte Vista, and it's a good exposure. The Crane Festival and the things you do, the Ag Conference, it's huge. I think we need to consider those things.
I don't want to take all credit, because there have been an awful lot of people that have
right. Well, other things do too, but this is what's on the table.
How many booths are set up for the Ag Conference?
We have about, I think, 70 vendors, but there's a lot of vendors that have 2, some have 3 different booths, so there could probably be like 100.
Okay, well, I know we have 2 booths, and I will have approximately 8 people in there.
Right.
And they'll be eating lunch in town, as well as buying extra stuff, and I know there's some of them staying in town, so if you figure 3 to a booth, just in people coming for the booth, it's quite a considerable amount, and then count who else coming in, and I know there's some out-of-town people coming in for the program.
Yeah, we have vendors from Montana, Idaho, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, yeah. So literally, we are bringing people that heads are going into beds here in Monte Vista. So, but we would be glad to accept whatever council decides. So. And I don't like being in the spotlight too much, so I'll sit down if that's all right.
My thought would be just to get some of the information that you and Forrest are talking about.
Well, this party's starting next week, so
I know.
But we can request that Forrest pull that information so it gives us a better idea for next year. But I think we need to make a decision tonight.
Well, and I agree.
I do apologize for not bringing this to you sooner. I know that the city was changing the fee rates for Sky High and Chapman and all that kind of stuff, and that hadn't been decided until just a few weeks ago, I think. So I just got the forms middle of January to work on it. So that was my bad for not bringing it to you sooner.
I just did the numbers on it. The difference between the 20% and the 50% isn't as much as I had thought. The actual net difference is $1,857.
What about the 35% that Joe just talked about?
Yeah, around $1,000 more that they would be paying between the 30 to 35 and the 50.
6650 is the discount at 35%. 2001 6650 is that discount.
So they would pay $4,024.
What was that, Anita?
$4,024 at the 35%.
Yep.
So we need to approve the use and approve what we're gonna do here.
I would motion to approve that use and the 35%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Crane Festival, Ag Conference,
Oh my God.
Home Guard,
Taste of the
Taste
San
test.
Luis.
Taste of San Luis Valley, and with a 35% discount.
For this year only, or I'm assuming just for this year? Correct?
Couldn't really,
And we can revisit this later on a long term?
Our application is just an annual application.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to set policy on this.
No.
I just need one of you to sign the approval on forms, so we have it.
we probably need a vote first.
Yeah, we have that vote here, but
Usually you do that this way.
so is there any other discussion?
Office, I just got a presentation.
No, but
Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
aye.
Counselor Elliport?
Aye.
Counselor Schleba?
Aye.
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll expect a lot more work out of you too. We appreciate what you guys do. I know it's, especially the Ag Conference, because I felt that's not,
Yeah, I'm losing hairs by the minute.
You're doing a good job, Joe. Appreciate it.
You got a ways to go.
No, not that.
okay, we have any citizen comments, unscheduled, please limit it to 3 minutes, but if there's anybody has anything to say. Bob?
Don't look at me now. I'm just sitting here.
Just keeping you on your toes. Anybody else? Gene? You got anything?
Not at this point.
Okay, we have no public hearings, no liquor license. A resolution approving the resolution 2-2018 approving the update of the personnel policy. So that Forrest, are you gonna present that one?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So you have in front of you a resolution tonight which would approve the updated personnel regulations, personnel policies and regulations manual for the employees of the city of Monte Vista. We provided that document to you at the work session that we had the other day. Didn't receive any questions from you all. Basically, just to recap, so Courtney Baker, our HR coordinator, worked on that with attorneys from it's now Employers Council, but Mountain States Employers Council, which we're a member of, and so they reviewed that. You know, we also staffed it in management team meetings and went through it, and it actually took almost a year to get the revisions done because we had a lot of other things going on. But I think it's not a major change from our current policies, but it did update a few things. A couple of highlights, if you will. We looked at a little bit different way of doing holidays for the employees, particularly the sworn police officers. That's always kind of difficult for them. Often they end up having to work. And so we actually created personal hours. We didn't use PTO because that's a little different concept, but basically they get a bank of personal hours. We also removed 2 holidays, which is Martin Luther King Day and President's Day as city holidays, so we would actually be open those days. And so all the employees got 16 hours of personal time in exchange for that. And depending when those holidays fall, some parts of government are closed, some are not. But it's not a holiday that, or they're not holidays that, when we talk to the managers, their employees would rather have the personal hours that they could take otherwise. So that was kind of a change there. We also changed payroll systems to ADP, and that's reflected in there in some of the language. The old language was about timesheets, this is about time punches. There's really no other major aspect changes to the policy. So staff would request that you approve this resolution tonight, and all the city employees have had trainings with it and gone through it and acknowledged the receipt. So upon your resolution, it will take effect immediately tonight.
I had a question that popped into my head today and I kind of spaced on it. We talked a little bit about rollover for leave time. And I was just kind of curious, I didn't really see it explicitly addressed in here, so I was just kind of curious what your thought process was on that.
So there is a cap on the amount of vacation hours that can be accrued, because that is compensable time upon someone leaving employment with the city. There's actually two things with that. One is not to build up an incumbent liability of money that we would have to pay out. It's not a retirement account per se. We do provide retirement opportunities for our employees that we also match. The other is to get employees to take time off. You know, you met with our management team, and you know, we got a lot of hardworking employees, and a lot of them historically have not taken their time off. But you know, we think it's important that employees do actually take days off and take vacations when they can, and we manage to work well to do that. But you know, for their own mental health and well-being, if you will, sick time continues to accrue at a much higher rate that can be accrued, which you know is useful if they have an extended sickness. Although we do also offer Family Medical Leave Act equivalency. We're not required by law to provide that, but we provide it in function. And that's not a compensable thing. When an employee leaves employment, they're not paid for any banked sick hours. So that's why the cap on that is much higher. And we have had a few employees that have had extended illnesses, and so that has worked in their favor. We do also allow employees that have worked for the city for more than a year to actually donate leave to a co-employee that's sick. So.
I was just curious. Thanks for clarifying that.
Sure.
Because I do see the cap here, and I do agree with you that the cap on the sick leave definitely needs to be higher.
Just another aspect of that I'll just throw in there. Philosophically, if employees are sick, I like to send them home. And I encourage my managers to send them home unless we're totally slammed. You know, with stuff like the flu that's going around, you know, it's kind of bad here, but you know, it's killing people in California and across the nation. So, you know, I had an employee that came in sick today and I sent her home. She didn't want to go home, but it's like, you know, we're not sure, you know, she might just have a really bad cold, but with customers all day, it's like you need to go home. And so by having that amount of sick leave, you know, then it's not a burden on the employees either to be able to go home when they're sick.
So you've been directly involved in all of this. You obviously have a sense, a positive attitude about the outcome.
Yes, I do. You know, I trust Courtney to do her work on it, and I've been involved in every revision that we've gone through, which I think there's only 8 iterations over the course of last year. You know, it's kind of some broad stroke things. You know, part of the things some things we had in there that the attorneys were like, and HR changes all the time, and the HR attorneys are like, 1 year, hey, this is pretty good, and the next year they're like, well, there's new case law. So yeah, I've read it a number of times.
I appreciate your work on that.
Well, and I give most of the credit to Courtney. Anything else?
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
I'm happy with it.
I move to approve Resolution 2-2018, approving the update of the personnel policy.
I second.
been moved and excuse me, seconded to approve the resolution 2-2018. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Ellsworth?
Aye.
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Schleba?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Rob? Mr. Vance?
We're up here again. Good evening. First item that I have for you tonight is it's an annual thing that council will need to certify each year. This is our HUTF highway listing. The HUTF is actually our highway users tax fund. It's basically what we get from the state gasoline tax. Okay, the total that we usually receive is right around 140,000. This year it's estimated to be about 144,000. The deadline to actually have this certified is February 15th. So just in your packets you have mileage statistics and totals for Monte Vista, and these are calculated in centerline miles. Paved roads, there's 24.93 miles of road. Unpaved is 3.96. Total eligible for HUTF funding is 28.89, of which 7.49 are arterials and 21.40 miles are actually classified as local roads. So, like I said, this is an annual thing. I check them every year to make sure I get a little printout like this, and we make changes. Like if we have an annexation such as we had last year with grower shippers, we also inherited the road, County Road 34. So the county and I work together. He takes it off his rolls, I add it to ours, and then we start receiving tax for those lane miles. So it's kind of every year you update or change if you need to. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just answered mine, so appreciate it. Now I know what it is.
Okay, and I just need you to approve so you can certify and sign. So I need a motion for council to approve the mileage certification.
I move that we approve the mileage certification from CDOT per Mr. Vance's request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the request. Any discussion? Nita?
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Ellsworth?
Aye.
Counselor Schleba?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Okay. I'm up again.
You're up again.
So tonight, as instructed, I'm bringing back the petition to install a new street light in the alley behind 1745 Grand Avenue. This is the alley between Faraday and Stallo. In the past, there's been several instances of inappropriate behavior by people in the evenings, and most recently the area suffered a burglary. Residents of the area complained that the area is dark and therefore dangerous. At the last council meeting, I presented the petition and some information on estimated costs. Council had asked me to come back with some narrowed costs. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get those costs in time to actually include them in your packet, so you have a paper copy on your diocese. I had a meeting with Xcel Energy on Wednesday, January 31st, and met with two of their representatives to look at the area and determine hard costs for a new street light. Upon their inspection of the area, they found that a pole that we were looking at putting the street light on was in need of replacement, and their assessment actually came back that the city would pay less than $100 plus the monthly service charge of $17 a month. So I'll explain that a little bit. As part of our franchise agreement with Excel, we get what they call a construction credit for any jobs that we require in the city of Monte Vista. Since the pole in their determination needs to be replaced, Excel would cover the cost of the pole at their expense, no expense to the city. The cost of the light would be covered mostly by the construction credit, and that leaves kind of an estimated labor cost of less than $100. There's a good chance that it would not cost the city any external money for the actual construction. The city would, of course, have to assume the $17 a month service charge. So assuming that the light would be completed in March and we'd start receiving billing, the total expense to the city in the 2018 budget would be $153. So in the packets I gave you include the petition from last time. I also gave you copies of the 2018 budget, highlighted our revenue side, the streetlight fees, and then also on the next page is the expenses for street lighting. So my recommendation is to approve this request. I do not see any reason that this request would require any type of a budget amendment at this time. So, yes, sir.
I was out there earlier, and the light you're talking about is the obvious one that's right there, kind of partway into the alley, just a little south of Darwin.
It's in the alley right behind Tomas's car wash. It's the pole that actually has two poles. The pole is weak, so Excel put a secondary pole on. It's currently marked with a red ribbon. They would replace that one. We positioned the light so it would shine around, because that particular alley does a 90. Comes in behind the car wash, does a 90, and then heads up towards Darwin. So there's already a street light in that alley at Darwin, and this request is actually for the southern half right in that corner. The street light on that pole would illuminate the corner and also the business in that area back there where the theft took place.
Well, that clears up a lot. The only thing I could see that was back there at all, that would make that would make sense. That's around the corner.
Right. There's three.
So the other one's still working out by Darwin.
It still works. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So in that area right behind the car wash, there are three poles. There's one pole that's right between the property line between Tomas's and the upholstery place, and then there's another pole directly in the corner, and then a smaller pole just to the north of that corner where that makes that 90. We're talking about using the first pole on the property between the two property lines in the alley, and that pole, like I said, because it's already being held, Excel considers that a dangerous pole and has to replace it. So it saves us a ton of money. So.
Okay. I understood it was just that I assumed the one towards Darwin must be out. That's working.
No, that one's still working. It's just that area down in that corner, just because it's a corner and the way it is, if you're driving on Faraday, you can't see the alley at all from Stallo. Faraday, even with that corner, you can kind of hide and stay out of vision. So it's an ugly alley.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than what I was envisioning. So, and for that, that's a pretty reasonable price.
This is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying this is another one that would need your motion if this is what you want to do.
I think it makes a lot of sense given the cost and the benefit that we get from it, especially given the recent crime in that area. So with that being said, I move to approve the streetlight installation in the alley behind 1745 Grand Avenue and instruct staff to complete the required application so that XL Energy can begin construction.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to put the street light in. Is there any other discussion? Nita?
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Counselor Schleba?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, council. I will submit the application tomorrow, and I will also email Pamela Rhodes over at Excel so she can start looking for it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rob. Conroe Animal Shelter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'd like to thank the city and the police force for helping all the time with our animals, our furry friends. Thank you very much. And I know it's been hard on the police force because you lost an animal control officer. But thank you for letting your patrolmen and officers help in that too. We'd like to be able to work with the new animal control officer, possibly having a ride-along initially if he or she doesn't know the area. It might be a help, you know, for them as well as us too. And if there are any problems, please make sure that they contact either myself or Mr. Least, you know, so that we can get to fix all these possibilities that, you know, we don't want to lose anybody anymore. It sure is a lot of help to have somebody there. So thank you. Ms. Van should have given you a packet on, I'm not sure, 2 sheets with the report, yearly report.
Should be in your packet.
If not, I have some more. But. I have some right here.
We can't overwhelm you with them.
Thank you, sir.
Why? I always do that. Waste the paper, but that's all right. So I don't know if I need to give you a couple of minutes to look them over, and if you have any questions, please.
How is your capacity at present? I don't know if
We're full. Yeah, today I just spoke to our shelter manager, and we are full. We actually, unfortunately, we're full on the inside, which is when we have small dogs. They can't stay overnight right now because of the weather. Even though we don't have snow, it's still very cold. So we have to turn them away, and, you know, hopefully Alamosa can take them, you know, but we hate to do that. So we do transfers too, and hopefully there's one coming for some of the dogs that have been there for quite a length of time, you know, or they're hard to adopt. Then we try to transfer them to other no-kill shelter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, right now we are full.
Yeah.
Now, what is the average length? Oh, here it is. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And it is an average. Obviously, right. we have dogs that actually turn around right away, or, you know, but we have some that we've had for quite a few months, unfortunately. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting. You took in 174 dogs, and only 4 of those were returned to their owners in 2017. So that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, it's Well, and again, people don't understand that. I mean, you know, we find them and we put them on Facebook. We try to find the owner, but either they just don't want to look at, you know, or they just don't want the dog anymore, or we get them coming back months later. Oh yeah, I saw that you had my dog. Well, dog's been adopted, the dog's been transferred, or, you know, I mean, it's, people just, if you want your dog, you need to pay attention and look around and go to the local shelters around there, you know, and see if we, Alamosa, we could have it, you know, I mean, it's just common sense.
Well, those numbers like Joe was saying are pretty out of whack for
Oh, for owner, yeah.
If that's what's happening, then
yeah.
If these are, I don't know, what is the reason for that? Are there just a lot of strays?
Are you talking? There's a lot of we do have a lot of strays in Monte, not just Monte, but I mean we do have an awful lot of them around here. People just let them go. I mean, they just do. I mean, some by accident, and then they just don't go looking for them. Owner relinquish, there's different reasons. Sometimes they're good reasons. I mean, maybe they have to move and the place they're moving to no longer allows them to have an animal, which is sad, but that does happen too. So we try to find homes for those.
Unfortunately, we encountered kind of a blasé attitude from a lot of pet owners throughout the valley. It's like, well, okay, you know, it's another animal.
You can find a home for them.
Yeah, you can find a home for them, wherever. We don't want to feed them, can't afford to feed them, whatever it might be.
That's another good reason. Sometimes they can't afford to feed their animals.
We try to
but neither can we. I mean, we can, but what I'm saying is that we still have to purchase the dog food, and that's what they don't understand. We just don't, you know, we have costs as well. Yeah.
When people surrender their dogs, like in a case where they're moving, do any of them ever help?
Yes, we do have people that will give us donation at times. We suggest it, but obviously you can't say, well, you can't leave your dog unless you give us money. But they do, we do, and sometimes it's decent, sometimes it's just maybe a couple of dollars, but it doesn't matter. You know, we will take whatever a person wants to give out. A bag of dog food would be fine too. I mean, we've told that to people too, that would be fine.
I volunteer out there, and quite often it's just, here's what's left of the dog food.
And
and we're moving, and we can't take our pets with us. And more often than not, people come in who just simply can't afford to keep them anymore. We've got an awful lot of people who are struggling. And it's valley-wide, it's not just in Monte Vista.
Or medical too. I mean, we have people that something is wrong with the dog. They can't afford to go to the vet to get it fixed, so they give it to us so that we end up doing the medical for that dog. As well. We've done quite a bit of that, you know, too.
A lot of times you'd be amazed at the number of times that the staff comes in the morning and they find the dog chained to the gate or chained to the tree. Somebody's just brought it in and figured that they could abandon it, make sure it didn't run off and get hurt. At least they were good that way, but you know, they just chain it to the gate.
And it's cold. I mean, right now, it's, you know, so it's, but we love doing that. I do.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate your work.
Well, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything because I work and volunteer out there, but quite often people find dogs wandering down the highway or you know, lost and just wandering down the street, and it isn't their dog, but they'll pick it up and bring it into us and keep it off the street and keep it from getting hit. And as often as not, those dogs are never reclaimed. Quite often we end up with them and have to adopt them or find a home for them.
Yeah.
And the police force does a really good job of that too. They're always on the lookout for those stray animals. They're just wandering.
Yeah. I do have a question. Do you have a new animal control officer by any chance? Not yet. Okay.
No.
No, that's hopefully soon.
Yeah, that's important.
We do appreciate what you do for the city. I know you take a lot of the city's dogs right now, as far as when we pick them up. And police department, I know, sends a lot of them your way, so we do appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate them as well. I know it's hard. They have other things that they could be doing too, so we appreciate that.
Guarding dark alleys.
I'm glad you guys came in, because this was something that
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm really interested in, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Receive and approve financial report. What's that?
Oh, yeah, there are no financial reports.
Staff reports. Mr. Newberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I think I will start out with the waste management piece, which was attached to my report. We did look at the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, water, sewer, and trash, which is the proposed index used that Waste Management wants to use for looking at potential rate increases. As I said in my memo, it's that kind of index is an all cities index. So, it's not broken down or designed for rural areas. It's just all cities that go into this giant database. That being said, it's probably as useful an index as, a lot of times you just use the general CPI or whatever. It doesn't actually show what the franchise holders' costs are relative to their operations here. I mean, honestly, if we wanted to be very accurate in assessing a rate increase, they would actually show us what their operational costs were and where those increases took place over the course of a year. I think that'd be more useful than using an index that covers the entire United States. So, I mean, it includes New York City, Los Angeles, every small operation they have, and I would call that a weighted average for costs. Certainly, like the landfill costs that they pay here are lower than they pay in Denver by quite a bit. I don't know what their Denver rates are, but anyway, it's not that useful a comparative index. The other issue, or the other request, was that you allow them in the contract modification to have automatic increases. My recommendation is that you don't accept that modification to their agreement. One of the points of having a discussion with them on a yearly basis about their rate increases or proposed ones is that it gives you an opportunity to give them some feedback as well. 2017 was not a entirely smooth year with Waste Management. We had a number of issues with them. My favorite one was we had a couple customers call City Hall and say that they had wanted to discontinue their trash service with Waste Management, and they were told that they couldn't because Waste Management has a franchise. Waste Management as an organization knows it's not exclusive, and these customers were folks that wanted to switch to our other licensed carrier, MDS. So after a couple of rather heated phone calls, they corrected that. They worked through a kind of call center type arrangement. It's not local employees. Our folks that were answering those phone calls, there was somebody in some data center, wherever that is. So they corrected that after a couple days, and then I was able to get back to the folks that called and said, yep, call them again. If they tell you the same story, let me know. And they didn't, so that was hiccup free, if you will. And then the other issue that we've had with them continually is, as you saw in the contract, there are certain city-owned buildings that we shouldn't be receiving a bill for. And I would say we spent 6 months arguing with them about the theater and Kids Connection. And I've had that argument with them and had them, and it's the only bill that we get from them. So we're, at this point, just not going to pay it. You will not, we've told them, I've sent them letters. At this point, they sent us another invoice for it. We're not going to pay it. The agreement clearly states that those are provided facilities for the city. So, are we entirely happy with them? No, I mean, and it's a competitive market. That's why we have more than one carrier. I understand there's another carrier that's interested in Monte as well, so that's probably good too. I also think the recycling question that came up, as I indicated in the last meeting, MDS does provide for premium recycling. So, I understand Waste Management's discussion of how difficult the market is. I'm not discounting that that may not be true, but somehow MDS, who's out of Creed, somehow is making that work. And it is a premium service. One of the discussions that Rob Vance and I are having with them is what would it look like, what would it cost to have a centralized recycling center in the city? So MDS is willing to look at that. We haven't gotten very far on that. We were supposed to have a meeting today that was rescheduled, but I think we'll bring that to council for y'all to look at. And so to me, that kind of goes back to not giving Waste Management automatic increases, not giving them a contract modification at this point that really lets them use the consumer index. I think if the council agrees to that, we'll write them a letter that says, you need to come and justify your costs for your next rate increase. No CPI, you show us why it's costing you more money. And then also if we're able to reach this agreement with MDS to do this, and I don't know the costs or anything, so I'm not sure how feasible it is, but if we are, then that's kind of another sticking point with Waste Management, because of a small company, and the folks that own it, it's locally owned in Creed, and they're really great people. If they can do it, then I'm sorry, the big boys should be able to as well. So not making it automatic, not letting you use that index gives you some leverage in this franchise. And it is a 5-year franchise, and I realize they have costs and everything, but let them prove them. Their actual costs here. And they can say what their costs are. Obviously, their rates are driven by what they charge. But since there's competition, if they want their rates to go up $3, MDS probably not going to go to the same place. MDS has a very competitive rate for their trash hauling services. So, not saying that the city favors them. They're both franchise holders. But then the market can do the talking on that. So, my recommendation to the council is that you do not accept the proposed contract amendment, and that you instruct staff to issue a letter to Waste Management that indicates that any future rate increases will be tied to actual proven cost increases in their operations.
Does that need a formalized vote or just an agreement?
I think you can all just nod to that effect, and I'll take your direction.
I'll nod.
Yeah.
Take care of it. All right, thank you. I will happily do that. I did just want to hit on from my report. I was at the Neighborhood Watch meeting, and it was really, really positive. I was really glad that I was there. I think it was informative for the folks there, and it's a good start moving forward. The chief is working with them closer, and one of the things that I'll just throw out there, and Chief, if I'm stepping on any toes, let me know. So the city of Monte Vista has been holding an open house for a number of years, and it's in conjunction with CML's Cities and Towns Week. And it's been fairly well received by the community, kind of so-so. But one of the ideas that's being discussed right now is combining that with National Night Out for Neighborhood Watch, which is in August
7th, I think.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. So
second Tuesday.
The second Tuesday, so after Stampede, but more than a week and a few days after that. I think that would be attainable, and after that gets firmed up for a little bit farther, we'll probably bring that back to council and discuss if we want to. Before we did the CML thing, we didn't have open houses. First one was inside City Hall, and then we moved it to more like a picnic in the park thing. Like I said, it's been, attended, but not super well. And I think we would get more bang for our buck for combining with Neighborhood Watch. I'm really excited about where they're going. We also discovered a cache, if you will, of some Neighborhood Watch signs that we had, which is nice. It was nice fun. I think the chief was doing some house cleaning, spring cleaning in the middle of winter, whatever. But found some additional signs, which was really nice. And as you recall, at the end of last year, Neighborhood Watch used their budget allocation to purchase 6 additional signs and posts. And then we have more additional signs. And so we probably can work in some more posts to that, and as time and weather permits. And I think, we'll work with Neighborhood Watch on the locations of those, where those want to go. But I think that that's going to help a lot, having more signs. So that was kind of a nice additional bonus to the Neighborhood Watch work. But I'm very encouraged by that, and look forward to us having a stronger partnership with them. I think that's the only thing I wanted to additionally mention, and I mentioned it super briefly in my report, but from my standpoint and from the management team's standpoint, we really appreciated the work session with the council. We felt like it was an opportunity. I think it was a great opportunity to talk about what we do, and for you all to be able to put some names and faces together, and also just understand the passion that all the managers and supervisors have for what we do. We're here to serve the city, and we try to do the best job we can. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, which we look forward to working with you through strategic planning and some of those other things, and having more interactions like that, so that we can, hit the marks we can and let you understand when there are, issues in hitting those. So it was really a great meeting. I went home with a smile on my face and thought, man, that was really just a good opportunity. Not from what I said so much as from what the staff said. And so we appreciated your time. I know it was a few hours, but I think it was really time well spent. Appreciate it.
I enjoy it. I really did appreciate the input.
So that's really all I have tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Forrest.
Mr. Mayor, before you move forward, I just have one thing on the Connor Animal Shelter. If you would like this evening, at the last meeting you had the approval of the contract. Since you did hear from them this evening, the contract is in your packet in that red folder. If that is something that council would like to address this evening before moving forward.
I was thinking there was something I was missing. I believe that's right, because we discussed that at the second meeting.
It was the first meeting.
First meeting?
It was on the agenda, the first meeting.
So it was just the approval of the operating piece, correct? Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, I move to renew the annual contract with Connor Animal Shelter.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Then moved and seconded.
Don't I have to recuse myself because I work and play there?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a question. You said something about a rate increase. We approved their stipend, which was the same.
Right, it was, so we had approved an increase last year, and I was wondering if I was pretty sure they hadn't asked for an increase, but I was just wondering if they had or not.
Yeah, I remember that discussion, so we were just verifying it.
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded, no more discussion. Nita?
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Slayla?
Aye.
And Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Nita. Karen?
Mayor, council members, good evening. Just have a few things to bring to your attention. I've been working on a number of confidential personnel matters, so obviously I can't talk about those either. Forrest is working on getting the bond renegotiated, so I've been working on that contract, which is dense. And then Nita and the judge and I were working on this, since this is the first of the year, to get our court set up in going forward, and we've got decided on 2 days, 2 afternoons, where I will come in and we'll have an opportunity for me to meet with folks and hopefully work out plea agreements that will be beneficial, perhaps doing useful community service, things of that nature. So we've got it, it's now set up, so that's about all I have that I can report on. Does anyone have any questions for me this evening? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Forrest, I have a real quick question.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the area ditch.
Mm-hmm.
I know you and Rob talked about that. I just wanted it to be known to everybody, so when you guys want to bring that up, just what the conversation was, Rob, if you would please. Just so you guys are aware of what's going on.
Earlier this week, I was called over to Ulysses, and where the ditch crosses by Ulysses, property owner decided to push up the berm that's in front of the ditch and filled in some of the ditch, but he loosened the material so that when the ditch does get turned on, there is a possibility of erosion, which could create a situation where the street floods. Forrest and I have talked about that, and what the instruction is, correct me if I say this wrong, but we do have things in our code, if the ditch company would file a formal complaint with the city, that we can then go out and use our code enforcement to actually enforce some things. But for the residents, the ditch is important for the farming community, and it's historically people use it and they dump leaves and grass clippings and limbs and everything else, and it makes those farmers, and we also own shares in that ditch. We all have to pay for that to have that stuff removed. It's one of those ditch things that it's for safety reasons. People just need to avoid those, especially when the water comes on. I can't tell you how many times I've seen young kids with a little rubber raft, a little floaty out there trying to float down the thing. Extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. So I think, I don't know if you want to touch on it a little bit or if I've kind of covered everything, but we want to, the last few years we've been
lots of syringes, needles, broken glass, dead dogs, mattresses, trash, refrigerators, pallets, plugging head gates and stuff up, and that creates floods.
And we've been, as far as the city, we've been proactively working with the ditch companies to try to make some of the areas where the ditches go through town a little more appealing. As we move forward with the useful community service for some of our court cases, that's always a possibility where we can again partner with the ditch folks and do some cleanup to make the areas look a little nicer than what they've historically have. The big thing is it's just the ditch doesn't belong to us and it's not property owner's responsibility. So they just really need to avoid the area and definitely not do what happened just recently. So.
If I could add to that, Mr. Mayor. Yes. So, in this, we do really try to work with the ditch companies because we are shareholders and they've got a pretty difficult job because of encroachments and things. And in this particular case, so you have a tenant that's living in that house and the property owner who lives out in the county, and I did contact the property owner about 2 weeks ago and I said, look, this needs to get taken care of, this is a problem. And I would think that it's gotten worse since then, not better. And I'm not, and I think I sent to you, Mayor, basically, take on it. There's a couple issues there. One, there is a trespass issue. And I don't know enough about the criminal code other than know in our code there's municipal trespass. There's also damages to the ditch company's property. They have an easement there, it's an exclusive easement. Nobody's supposed to have their stuff in there. And this is kind of different than people just throwing trash in there, which is a problem. But this is somebody willfully creating damage to the ditch. So I think there's two issues there. One for the ditch company to look at and maybe talk to the PD about a complaint. I don't know if that complaint rises to a county level, if it's criminal trespass, which is a level of felony or whatever. I don't know those things exactly.
It would depend on the value or the damage.
Yeah, so that would be something that if you get with the chief, I think that there's two issues or ways. There's that way and then there's civil. We try to do everything we can do to help, but in this case, the city can't trespass to move something. We move stuff out of the ditch because we're working with them. This dirt thing though, without exactly knowing the property lines and the width of the easement and all that stuff, do we actually end up trespassing on the private owner's property by moving the dirt? So it's not that we don't want to help here, but I think it needs to, because they've kind of ignored it at this point, that it probably requires an actual complaint with the police department and take it from there, because we're coming up on irrigation season quick enough, so if there's actual damage to the ditch, that there needs to be some resolution to that. So we're happy to work with them and get them together with the PD and see if we can take that avenue. And a lot of times if there's some charges filed, then it gets more attention than the city manager calls you and says, hey, this problem, take care of it, because it's really not happening. And to me, after Rob talked to me, it sounds like it's gotten worse since we had that discussion. So that would be my recommendation on this particular matter.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
For those that are, and I like doing this because I found out a little bit about this. For those of you in the community that don't know, the ditches are the right of way. So if people are infringing on that ditch bank to a point and the ditch company has to go in and clean that ditch, they can take 5 foot of right of way or they can take 25 foot of right of way, depending on the equipment they need to take care of that. So me understanding this, based on the fact that if this ditch washes out, it's going to flood all of Ulysses. So then who's the responsible party? It's not the ditch company, it's not the city. So it becomes that property owner's problem. But stating that if the ditch company goes in and cleans up a ditch and they have their 25 foot of right of way because of what they need to take care of the issue, if it's me and my property and I have a fence right there, they can go right through that fence, tear it out, and there's nothing I can do about it. So people who do that need to understand that better because they abuse it. So they do need to be aware of that they can cause serious issues. So just a little information for you. Thank you, Forrest. Rob, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you for, sounds like a communication issue. I think people need to know what the ramifications are.
Sounds like an education issue.
Yeah,
to me, to just let people know what what everybody's obligation is.
And most time, like the guys from Lariat Ditch said, they'll do whatever they can to keep things to a minimum. but sometimes they just need that extra little push.
Signage would be, I know it's expensive, but signage would be really good. It kind of helps in any kind of criminal case, you know. Does somebody know they shouldn't be dumping a mattress in there? Yeah, but having a sign goes a long way.
Well, I do know that in the past, Rob has brought this up to council as well, and we do try to get the word out there as much as we can. But definitely there's some work that we can do there to improve that and keep on just doing wherever we can, putting it out there. Hey, it's really valuable. I mean, water is our life here in the valley. We shouldn't be throwing junk in it.
Well, I'll say, you know, I complain about pulling the trash out, that's fine. I'll take the trash out all day long. First kid I have to pull out, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And the kids play in that ditch down there on the corner at the divider all the time. They've been there. They see us pull up there, here they come running. You run them off, they're right back. They pull our boards out and steal them, or not steal them, but take them, blow them down the ditch, build a raft. But no, it's dangerous.
Well, I appreciate what you do too.
Then where was that? Ulysses that again? Where's that ditch?
The Lariat. It's the Lariat ditch on the end of Ulysses, the north end, right? North end of Ulysses?
Yeah.
100 blocks.
The 100 block. And the Lariat runs from where to where? It runs, it's the one that goes
through the golf course and behind Dairy Queen, Hope's Castle, Ezekiel, out past Wilbur-Ellis, all that. That's the Lariat.
Is that the Lariat that runs through our lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
It goes through the city and then it makes a right turn and comes out.
Goes down South Henderson.
Yeah, down Henderson.
Crosses 160. By the liquor store. There's several property owners along South Henderson that actually has draws off of the Lariat ditch, and then it continues.
There's a north lateral that goes behind the Stampede grounds and out that way, and then the south lateral goes around, crosses the highway right there, southwest Dicker, and that's the one that goes up past like Wilbur-Ellis that way, right along the highway there.
I'd appreciate it, nobody throw trash in there because it plugs up at our culvert. That's a lot of information that would be good for the Counselor's Corner that you were talking about. It'd be good information because I think there's a lot of people in town that don't realize just how important all this is. It's kind of taken for granted. It's like we were talking in my office at the Waterways of America. Anybody know about the Waterways of America? Okay. These ditches, any water, arroyo, anything that comes off of these mountains are considered waters of America. So simple little things that where people been pushing snow in the ditch, that's a kind of a no-no because that's like a taboo area. Say, I'm gonna pick on the people in the crowd. So say Gene has some property over somewhere close, it's a little farm, and he's spraying weed killer on it. And he's cleaning it up to do something, and he pushes that snow in, and the residual of the chemical is in the ditch. So then runoff comes, snow's melting, water goes down, and Jerry's got his little potato farm on up the ditch, and all of a sudden his potatoes are dying. So they can start tracing and tracking, and they start pulling samples, and they find out that where it happened at, and somebody's liable for that. But it's because it's Waters of America, it's a serious issue, and a lot of people put snow in the ditch. So it's stuff that we all need to think about. Because it's very crucial, and especially this year, since how we don't have any snow, to be, it's stuff that we need to pay attention to. I'd be a good one for Anika with her kids out there. They don't know that.
I have a neighbor, I have to play with it, so. And I actually live I live on Covey Street right there at that ditch, so It would be a real shame if my house turned into a swimming pool because it flooded.
So you can let your neighbor know too. That if he has to carry a bucket around, it's gonna be a serious issue.
He would be fine with it though. I try to keep him away.
Anika, you have the floor, unless somebody had some other questions there.
Good evening. I don't have a report for you in your packet because January was kind of like, just came and disappeared on us. And I haven't been busy doing anything at all. So I just put a couple notes together. At the beginning of January, we finished up Christmas break. And that was fun. We had 3 days in January that we were open. We were closed one day because the school had an extra work session and opened back, I think it was like the 9th. That first week back, I attended CRC training in Alamosa, and that was on financial stability for nonprofits. So I learned a lot about how we could rephrase a lot of the ask that we were doing for grants, and found out that my staff salaries in what was considered a operational expense before is technically not an operational expense because they are the reason the program exists. So we can go back and include those salaries into asking for grant funds, and their salaries are included in those program costs because without them the program wouldn't exist. So it was a big shock to find out that everything we thought was overhead for Kids Connection, only like 15% of it is actual operational expense. The rest of it, all the work that the staff do, are 100% program expense. So it was really unique for us to find out that. So we kind of got to work and started hammering out a bunch of grants, and hopefully we'll have better luck this year. Our after school numbers have been between 65 and 70. After Christmas break, our numbers really picked up. In January, I entered in 18 new members in just January alone. Today by itself, after I got back at a meeting with Forrest, I ended up 10 new membership packets today alone. And those have been consistent, like 1 or 2 every couple of days or 1 or 2 a week. Today by itself, we had 10 new packets. So we were excited for that. Our Friday numbers have picked up again. They slowed down this last summer. And the beginning of the school year, they were kind of low. We were sitting at maybe 30, where we've been hitting about 45 and 50 every Friday. So numbers are really starting to pick up, and our kids are coming back to us. With that, we had on the 29th, Sweet Tooth Dental came down to visit us and did a presentation for our kids. Gave them all toothbrushes and toothpaste and a bunch of handouts to give to parents so that they have some more information about the services that they provide up there. And then other than that, we have upcoming in February, the 25th of February, which is, I believe it's the last Sunday in February. Yeah, it's the last Sunday in February. We are hosting a Nerf tournament along with the Recreation Department is helping out, and CTC, our Communities that Care, with Reoccurring Prevention Partners. They're going to jump in and do some concessions for us. Recreation is helping get stuff set up and build the obstacles, and they've helped a lot with some of the little donations that we've received so far. But this is going to be kind of an all-ages family event. We're encouraging families to get together and put a crew together of like 4 to 6 members. As young as 5, we'll have eye protection available for everyone. We'll have barriers set up, and we'll do like one team against the other. At the end, we'll have some prizes and some trophies to give out, and it is $5 a person. So we're just encouraging families to come out on a Sunday and do something fun together.
Is there registration for that?
Just the $5, and they can register online through Express Bill Pay. We have it up on the website, right? Yeah, it's up on Express Bill Pay. The link is there, and on Facebook it's been posted as well. And Prevention Partners and Recreation have helped us kind of push that out there so that people can get some information. We got some really good feedback right away after it came out, about a bunch of people calling, very interested in it. So we're hoping for a pretty decent turnout.
Is it on the Kids Connection website or on the city website?
On the city.
Okay.
Well, it's not on the website itself, but it's on the Facebook pages.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it should be on the city's Facebook page, the Recreation Facebook page, and the Kids Connection Facebook page. Yeah. And there's a flyer that has all the information.
Perfect.
So other than that, we're just moving forward. You guys have any questions for me?
I don't. I think you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you more than you know, because I got rid of mine, and I wouldn't want to do that. So
It's fun.
I appreciate you. What you do.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Try me.
Good evening. All right, so I'm sure you guys have a copy of my report there, so I'm just going to go through it. I'm not going to go into detail. But I went as far as like last December for our programs that we had. It was the girls' basketball season then. And we had third and four. We had, let's see, three fifth and sixth graders at that time, and three out of three from our third and four made it to the tournaments, placing first, third, and fourth, I believe. And then on the fifth and sixth, two out of the three made it to the tournaments, and they placed third and fourth. This season, now in January, we started with the boys basketball season, and the reason they divided that way is because when the girls' pee-wee season is playing, the boys for the middle school are playing, and so some of the girls can come and play pee-wees and still go play middle school at the next season when they're off pee-wee. So we try to work with the schools in that aspect too, so they can have enough and we can have enough and sharing kids. Right now we have the boys going on. We started registrations for the whole month of November. We're open, and we've registered a total of 70 kids. We had 3 first and second graders, we had 3 third and fourth graders, and we have 3 teams of 5th and 6th grade. And each team had about 8 to 7 players per team. So a total of 70, 24 kids per team on each grade level. Basketball season for adults is coming up now in March. Registrations are now open through the whole month of February. Hopefully by then we could have a resolution or plan with the schools of what we're going to do with the facility. I mean, the rent fee I think is too high for us, but that's the only place that we have to host these games. Last year, like I mentioned before, we had 11 men's teams and 6 women's teams. So it is a well-known sport for adults here. And we're hoping that this year will increase at least 1 team per level. So we're hoping to have 12 men's and at least 6 or 7 women's teams. We also hosted the Denver Nuggets Skills Challenge on January 21st over at the middle school gym. It was kind of we expected a little more kids than what we had. Last year we had close to 45 kids. This year we only had 15. It snowed that day, so I don't know if it was because of the snow. But nevertheless, we went ahead and went with it. We had kids from Alamosa, Monte Vista, Center, Ito. And so I think, after all, I think it was pretty good turnout. 8 total kids of each division, like you can see in your package right there. It was broken down by age. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 and 14, boys and girls separate. So we had 8 kids getting first place, and they advanced into the sectionals in Pueblo, and that will be on, let me see, I didn't put it here, but I think that's going to be on February 15, I believe, or somewhere around there, 15. So they get to Pueblo, and if they place first place there, then they advance to the nationals or the regionals in Denver, and they compete at the Denver Nuggets game at halftime. So I think that's pretty exciting for them. And they get free tickets to go over there and everything. So. Also coming up, we have our Pee Wee, or what we call it, the mini pirate cheerleading program. It's put a daddy and daughter dance fundraiser on Friday, so hope to see most of you there. And there's no age. I mean, if your daughter is 25, 30, take them. You know, it's just something that to families to do together and to support our Pee Wee programs. It's a fundraiser dance, and I think it starts from 6 to 8 at the Sky High. Also, the following, the Saturday, the 10th, we're gonna have our next family skate night from 4 to 9 or 4 to 8. And last time that we had it was in November, and we had close to 70 people attending, from kids to adults. And so sometimes we're short on skates, but we're hoping to get a little more skates. CTC has been working on a grant to maybe purchase more skates so we can be accessible for the kids that don't have any, or the parents don't have any, that they can at least rent it for $1 and use them for that night, and help each other that way. Let's see. Rentals at Sky High. Jerry came out here earlier and talked to you about those. Was the rentals that we have from the Agriculture in Monte Vista Crane Fest, the Home and Garden Exposition, and the Taste of the San Luis Valley, which is a new event that they're having. And we've been working close in the chamber since Jerry took over. We've been, in a lot of communication, and they also help us. He's been helping me a lot with new proposal that we came out about the marquee for the Sky High. We have 2 sponsors as of right now, of one for $1,000, one for $850 for the purchase of the new marquees, the LED marquees. And so I contacted the co-op. I contacted the Rotary Club, Stampede, and so I'm just waiting to hear from them. So the way I broke it down, it was I think the total came up to like 7,000 or 7,500 for both sides of the LED marquees at the Sky High. And so the way I broke it down, I broke it into 8 sponsors, 850 a piece. And so our goal is to hit that and try to get it before Stampede, or even before that. So I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we'll be good. There hasn't been really a lot of rentals or reservations at the park because of the cold of winter, but I know this is going to start coming up here pretty soon. Just like anything else too, I've been seen a lot of meetings, job related, and one of the meetings that I was last night for the USDA, which I was the only one through Recreations Department that was there. Mostly was public health and other departments that deal with how to help or prevent drug problem. But it was sad for me that a lot of recreations departments are not coming out front and helping out with that, because we're involved with the kids, like I said before. We're there with the kids most of the time after school, and so we got to be able to identify the problem and be able to give a solution if possible. And so getting involved in all of this, I think, is a responsibility for us to do that. And from there, I got a good lead to maybe have them be able to have a grant or some kind of loan for a new community center, that they were willing to come and talk to you guys. I mean, it's nothing set, nothing. They just say, talking to them after the meeting, it's like, what do you guys need? And this is what we need here. And they're like, well, there's grants and there's loans that could work for you guys to have, and we can do a presentation for the board if you guys want to. So I told them I was going to bring it up, and then you guys can make the decision if that's something that might work or something that you guys can do or not do. and so I can talk to them, go back with them and see if there's a good day to set that up. And then I can bring it up to you guys and let you know. Other than that, I have nothing else here. Oh, I got this right here too. One of my staff members, Kim, last year they started their own traveling team, baseball traveling team, or 2 years ago. Her and another Jake Malat. And they provided this traveling team for 13 and older kids, because there's nothing that we can provide for the 13 and older in our department. And so they came out with these, and they had been working separate from our department on fundraisers and stuff like that. So last year we couldn't provide warm-ups for our kids for this basketball season. So they donated $634.50. Well, not donated, but they bought the warm-ups and they give it to the kids. So I just wanted to bring that out to the board and let you guys know. And they actually wrote this. I thought I'd just put in, something in writing, so it shows that you guys help in the community. It was a total of 47 shirts that they purchased, about $13.50 each. And they just give it to the kids. And they also bought shirts to sell to the parents to collect more money to buy warm-ups for the next sport. And that's what they're gonna keep doing. So that's a less expense for the city to do, and for the kids to have something to take home and be proud of. And so I think the way we're going, and I think the way, like we've been talking, is a little help from everybody and helping each other, and because at the end it's for the community and for the kids that were here. And if we start taking sizes, or we start taking, well, no, I'm doing this and no, I'm doing that, then we're never going to come together and succeed on what we have to do. So that's all I have for tonight.
Who did you say donated that, Jake Watt? And
yes, it's what they call the traveling team. Says the Monte Vista Traveling Sport would like to support the youth involved in the activities of your organization, and it's Jake Malat and Kim Villalpando, which is one of my assistants for the rec department.
Kim Villalpando?
And them two were the ones that donated that?
Yes, the program.
And, I mean, you mentioned working with USDA grants. This wasn't some little rec department thing, it was a community center.
Yes.
So I'd be interested in hearing some more about that. If you can find out that information, I'd be glad to be the go-between and let everybody else know.
That's why he's going to get with them and along with Forrest, and then they'll set up a meeting so they can have a presentation for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they said they were willing to come and do a presentation for you guys to see if that's something that the city will be willing to work in.
And we'll see if we can schedule that for that first council meeting in March.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys have any questions or concerns. You know where to reach me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not on the agenda tonight, but I'm going to be gone next council meeting. Would it be all right if I just addressed a couple things? Is that all right?
You're on my.
I'm going to put it on your time.
You're on mine.
Am I? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Better, because I was late. Like, this month kind of escaped me too. So this is what I promised, that I would provide a handwritten copy. It's a little bit of statistics, but I will be in the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police Conference from the 12th through the 16th of February, so I'll miss the next council meeting. They have rookie chiefs training, so I'm going to that for 3 days. And then they have kind of their annual vendor show and all that.
12th through the
16th, so it'll be not next week, but the week after. So I'll be gone from there. So I wanted to talk about, did you get, you have my one-page sheet of kind of things we're up to. Did that get in there yet? Sure.
No.
No? Oh, Okay.
It'll get in the next one.
So the only thing I needed to bring up then, so Crime Stoppers is kind of rejuvenating. They're getting some grants, they have some active members, but we're all law enforcement. We need some non-law enforcement members. So I'm recruiting you, or who would you might recommend from our community to attend. They're Fridays, I believe they're usually the third Friday, it's the 23rd, so I think it's the third Friday of the month. They're in Alamos at the sheriff's office. I don't know that that changes, I think they're always there. So I'm kind of recruiting to take someone with me. They're looking, it's not a kind of a participation necessarily member, it's more of a information, recommendations, trying to reach out and become more popular or more in line with the national Crime Stoppers, not just local Crime Stoppers.
That's the third Friday of the month in Alamos at the sheriff's office.
It's the 23rd, so don't quote me on the 3rd, but I think it's the 3rd, whatever the 23rd is.
At what time is it?
It's usually in the morning. Every time I've been to it, it's only been twice, it's been at 11.
11 a.m.
In March, that's actually the 4th, because there's a lot of Fridays.
Go to February. Yeah, so it could very well be the 4th Friday, but it's the 23rd, that much I know. So I'm kind of recruiting, if you think about it. It doesn't even have to come to this coming meeting, but I think we need some representation. When I sit in there, it's law enforcement from all over, but there's no civilian representation at all from Monte Vista west. So that'd be kind of nice to have, other than Carla. Carla Shriver's in there as well. So for the county, there's a little bit, but it'd be nice to have some representation from the city.
I don't work Fridays, I could do that if I haven't seen you in January. You guys probably are all working.
I would love to go because I could be very vocal at that and not be in trouble. So, but that's fine. Because that's hard for me to make them.
Right, I can, or we could both go, or if you can go along, but I can pretty consistently go because I don't work on Fridays.
I think John has enough room in his car for all of us.
There we go.
Yeah.
Come on, Victor, are you going to come? You should
I'll
go.
go.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I'll just talk with my employer. But I think we can make it work out.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Probably help with that.
Give them a volunteer.
Good job.
Wait, they either one of these two.
All right.
She's been wanting to volunteer, so she volunteered before she got appointed. That's a very good thing.
That would be good. That would be great. They're definitely looking for members. It kind of seems like Crime Stoppers went from almost no law enforcement involvement to nothing but law enforcement. Now they're trying to come back to some sort of happy medium, and they're a lot more involved though. They're looking at their biggest donation in history to about to accept that, 10 grand, which is pretty cool. So, and their annual, I think, purse is about $2,500. So 10 grand is a pretty big deal for us, and hopefully that'll only get better. The only other thing I have is the handout I talked to, well, I guess I got a couple things. The handout I brought you, I just kind of want to start giving you an idea about how crime occurs. It's a little bit confusing and I can't consolidate that, but I want to, if you flip it over, the bottom kind of shows you where the police department's busy, where reports kind of come in. It's kind of based on hours. So the back side of the bottom is the statistics, and then the front top is the hours. So it's in military time, so it's 0 through 24 hours. And I thought it was kind of a unique look at how the work gets done and how things come in and how the city kind of works from our standpoint. And then if you really want to digest the crimes, they're listed as well, individually. It doesn't talk about clearances, arrests necessarily, but just the type of crime that was reported. Some of those are arrests. You know, the warrants obviously are arrests. Some of the possessions are arrests. But I thought it was kind of a unique look at the system, and just in a month. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes as time goes by. On that note, I thought there was some good news. I can't give details, but we did find the cash machine, the change machine. So you can probably infer that we have a little information from that. We haven't made any arrests, but we're closer, so that's good. We did have more burglary arrests than burglar calls in January, so last week. That's a good thing, and not in the whole month, but just in the last week. So it's been a pretty good month. There's been a lot going on, and I think most of it's been pretty positive. the big names in burglary are all in jail right now. There's a couple more to get, but it's pretty cool. And that's not just money. Alamosa's been a big part of that. Rio Grande County Sheriff's Office has been a big part of that. It's been a pretty cool cooperative. And the information's starting to flow because we found out about the coin change, the bill change machine, because of information we put out. So they knew to be looking for it. And they arrested a robbery suspect and on their search warrant found our item and immediately knew who to call. So that's starting to work too. So that's pretty good stuff. Horace talked about Neighborhood Watch. The next one is the 19th. So I know Gary was going to plug that, but definitely plug that. February 19th is the next Neighborhood Watch meeting. And then a really exciting thing, I talked about the canine and some thoughts on that, I think last time. If not, it was in our meet the council, so I apologize if I forget when I talked about this. But the bottom line is Lena's retiring next week, and Karma, the new dog, is coming up to speed. And kind of out of nowhere, the Out Cult Foundation is ready to step up and pretty much completely fund our second dog. So keep your fingers crossed. We'll know more on the 8th. The 8th is kind of a decision day, but they seem really excited. We have the backing of the DA. We're the only dog in town, so that's a good thing. You know, we don't have to fight with the county on that. But part of what we will commit to is supporting the county. That has limitations. You know, I'm not exactly going to define that, but I can't send a dog, 45 minutes into the abyss when I only have 2 cops on the street, and they get that. But CSP's excited, so we would actually be real close to our big brother Alamosa in our ability to deal with a canine on the street and to sniff out narcotics. So pretty exciting. Keep that in mind because you'll obviously have to approve that grant if we get it. So that's just a heads up. And the last thing, the sad note, is our very promising candidate for code fell through. And I'll let Forrest tell me more behind the scenes on that, but it just wasn't honest enough on his app for us to keep him, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll come up with some other possibilities. I'll see you in a month. Any questions of me? All right, thank you.
10:30 is good for Saturday.
All right, we're on. Speaking of crime.
Rita, did you want to discuss these? I guess you could give a report too if you want.
I don't have a report for you, sorry. So on your council and committee, commission, and council reports, something that was brought up, so the next scheduled council meeting is February 15th. There's a lot going on in the community. I've had several calls wanting to know if we were going to cancel the council meeting for the 15th. The Harlem Wizards are going to be in town, and they're doing a big fundraiser at the school for the boys basketball team. So I've had a few calls about that. I spoke with Forrest and Karen, and it was something that we wanted to bring up to council and see if you guys would want to do this. Currently, today is the deadline for the city attorney RFPs. I have 2 to present to you. So originally the interviews were going to take place on February 12th. So I will be sending out an email to all of you for you to determine what time you want to do those interviews. You'll email me back and we'll get that scheduled. So the question is if on the 12th, if you would like to make that a special meeting versus a work session and go ahead and do your interviews if that's what you choose to do, and then go into a special meeting, announce your candidate for city attorney or your winner for city attorney, and then go ahead and take care of any city business that may need to be taken care of on that day, and then go ahead and cancel the meeting on the 15th so that we can support the high school basketball team and their efforts to raise money.
There need to be a motion for it.
Sir, what you do is, as an announcement, you would announce that you would have a special meeting on Monday, February 12th of the council, 6 p.m., I would assume. And then that would also constitute your regular meeting for the 15th. So you'd be canceling the meeting on the 15th and holding a special meeting. Honestly, I guess we could actually, it could just be a regular, you could make that the regular meeting. It doesn't have to be a special one per se. If we're going to cancel the 15th, it would just be the regular council meeting, just moving the date. So the motion would be, or actually, if you all just agree, then you would set that meeting, the regular council meeting for Monday, February 12th, 6 p.m.
Everybody good with that?
I'm good with that. I mean, we already had a meeting planned, so.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
I think that works.
Yes, sir, do that.
I don't know exactly, I don't know what time exactly you're talking about for interviews, but from noon on, I advised Anita I will be gone because I have Swatch in the evening and I have Crestone in the afternoon. So I'm available between all morning and then I'll be gone.
Afternoon into the evening?
I won't be available in the evening.
Okay.
And we can discuss that for times later.
Okay.
I mean, as an alternative, Mr. Mayor, the council can look at a different date entirely separate of February 12th. I mean, you're just going to have a regular meeting of the council. You're allowed to move that second meeting of the month to any date certain you want to pick. So if it would be for the next week, be better for that.
So what are you saying, just push the council meeting to the 22nd, which would be the next Thursday?
Yeah, yeah. If that works for everyone's schedules.
I don't see an issue with that.
So council meeting the 22nd.
Because we got a work session on the 20th, so that could all come into play.
Yeah.
And then have city council on the 22nd.
Okay.
Are you still holding the interviews on the 12th then?
Right, I think the question was the interviews, wasn't it? Not the council meeting.
Well, no, so I guess what I was saying, you do the interviews, so to make the schedule work, you do the interviews on the 22nd.
Do the interviews on the 22nd.
As far as that meeting, I mean, that's generally a lighter, I wouldn't anticipate that's a high volume meeting for the council. So we can do the whole thing on the 22nd.
Does that work for you?
That works for me.
Everybody else? 22nd works for them? So that's what we'll do.
At 6.
22nd at 6.
22nd at 6, yes.
So we're not doing the 12th at all.
Correct.
No 12s.
So yeah, I'm assuming no 8th meeting either.
What time are you starting the interviews then?
Probably 6:30 by the time we all get here, because you got to come the furthest, so.
Well, so you'd have a council meeting, generally we start at 6.
6,
So, you know, you fit that in the agenda. So around 6:30, I would guess.
We probably.
It's on Thursday.
So that meeting on the 22nd is gonna start at?
We'll start at 6, but we'll do interviews shortly after that start.
And then the only, the other thing on here is that please mark your calendars for February 20th for the strategic planning work session.
I got that
That's
down.
6 p.m., correct?
6 p.m.
Got that.
Okay.
That's 6.
Everybody got their dates and information?
20th and 22nd. Maybe we'll watch the 19th.
Anything else?
Probably if we want to give council an opportunity to just do their reports.
Yeah, you guys have anything to say? Gang reports? Sorry, I always forget that.
I did, this past weekend, spend some time up in Denver, which was very enlightening. And just want to show you guys. So, I went to CML training, Friday, Saturday, spent all that time with all the mayors and some councilmen around the Denver metro area. Very useful, very helpful, and I just want to thank the city of Monte Vista for giving me that opportunity to go and learn. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's cool what you learned.
I learned a whole bunch. I have a thumb drive that they gave me that I will definitely pass along to the council members that they can learn from.
Those weekends are packed.
What's that?
Those weekends are packed with information. It's a
Too
lot
much
to, yeah,
overwhelming information.
to take in.
It's good exposure though.
It is.
Barry?
Well, since the chief mentioned it, I will bring up the next neighborhood watch meeting. I'm not involved with that anymore, but I'm dedicated to be a spokesperson for them. So February 19th, I think it's the 19th, 6 p.m. on that Monday. And the more people that are there, the better it goes, as evidenced by this last meeting. So by all means, I don't know if the concessions will be as good as last time, but I'll talk to Kathy about that, the other Kathy. But in any case, do mark your calendar for that. It's worthwhile to get out to, and it's making a difference in the community, as Chief would give testimony to.
Kathy, you got anything?
Went to the Urban Renewal Authority meeting, which was very interesting and informing and exciting things that they have on their agenda, and some things to look forward to for the city of Monte Vista, I think. And because I don't know enough about it to have a big conversation, I won't, other than there's a lot of hope out there. It's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Very good. When's that next meeting?
It is the 6th. Tuesday, is that right? Sorry. It's the first Tuesday of the month. I believe that's the 6th.
That is the 6th.
Yeah, so 7 p.m. here at City Hall. We do hope at that point we're really close. We reached out to a few people to kind of prod the state to finish their micromanagement of our policies and procedures manual. And I think based on the latest revision, which I got today, that we're almost there. They are working on the modifications of the contract, which I hope to have done next year, and then we're working on the financing with SLB Fed. And in a perfect world, that'll all come together that night. And then at that council meeting on the 20th, there'll be hopefully an action item for the council in regards to that lending with URA. So if everything works great, I think the policies will be done for sure. And we're really looking forward to lighting the fire on this thing finally, with the help of a few people at the state that we reached out to. So
very good. Very good. Joe?
Well, I would agree with what a number of the staff said. January is about 5 minutes long. it's been a crazy month. Crane Fest is really gearing up. Jerry attested to that. He's been a huge help with that from the chamber side. I am really excited about this year's Crane Fest. It seems like it's going to be bigger than it's ever been. And every single year it keeps on growing. And from what I'm hearing, our seats are pretty much full on the buses. Very, very close to being full. So if you want a seat, you better get it now, because in a week or two, they're not going to be available anymore. So that's really good news. I also wanted to give a shout out to the chief. We're down at the County Annex building, what was that?
Last Thursday.
Was that last Thursday night? And want to give a shout out to Bob Gailey as well. He put together a crew of community members who donated almost $10,000 worth of gear and equipment for the Rio Grande County Sheriff's Department. And that one kind of hit home pretty good for me. We don't ever want to have that conversation where we say we should have had better equipment, we should have had better training. And so that was definitely huge for us to see that and see the community support. And I'd just like to say that we as members of Monte Vista, we live in Rio Grande County, and it'd be great to see Monte Vista, turn out for those events as well, and really, be a part of that, because it was pretty huge to see all 7 of them up there and get that gear, and I think that's pretty important. I also had a really interesting thing going on today. I attended the first TPR meeting, the Transportation Planning Region meeting. Was really interesting. CDOT has got some incredible projects underway right now, and going north up 285, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think going north up 285, they're planning to do a project this summer for about $31 million.
It's depending on whether or not the ballot measure passes.
Okay.
The ballot measure has to pass.
So it'll be next summer when that goes through. But they're wanting to do a $31 million project north 285. They were talking a little bit about the project out here, the 4-lane section that they did between Alamos and Monte, and I guess that project was $8 million. And I'm like, that's 4 miles.
That's ridiculous.
So it really kind of got me a little bit to realize how much money we're really spending when it comes to infrastructure. And I guess over the last 5 years, they've been spending right around $700 million on average. However, a lot of that funding is going away, and we're right now looking at about $400 million going forward. So that's a drop of $300 million. However, should the state legislature not approve funding, we could drop way lower than that. With $267 million was what we need from the state legislature to stay at $400 million. So if the state legislature doesn't approve that, then we're really low, where we might even have an issue of maintaining roads. And so that's going to be a little interesting. There's a ballot measure that's coming out this fall. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. They haven't put everything together yet, but I'll definitely try and keep everybody in the loop on that. But our infrastructure is vital. I mean, I think we all see how crowded 160 gets in the summer, so, and 285 for that matter. That's all I got.
Cool. For me, I didn't make anything. I was scheduled to have surgery, didn't make it to Bob's deal, and I apologize for that. Thank you again and everybody that was involved in that. That's amazing. As far as community goes, I appreciate everybody that's being here. Of course, it got quiet, so it's time to rally the troops again, I guess. We've got to start something up that again, I guess, but to get everybody here. But as far as the community being involved, I've heard a lot of input from community members. I talked to a gentleman, and Forrest has been speaking with this gentleman too, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he said he's been in talking to you. He just moved here last October, and he's got a lot of really good ideas for the community. I thought, for what little bit he pitched to me, ideas for businesses, ideas for helping small business people out. So I was pretty impressed with that. You know, and to go back to the members that are here, I appreciate the young folks that are in here. I can say that because I'm not as old as Gene, but I'm old. But get used to it.
Without saying.
But I really do. Seeing everybody coming out, you know, I had a nice conversation with Ron and his counterparts the other day, and I see the community. I really feel like there's a glow to the community that's been there, but it's shining a little brighter. And every day it seems to me like it's just getting a little bit brighter, and it really pleases me that the community is stepping up. Chief and I have been working on a little project that hopefully will come to play with some information that I'm really excited about. That I'm like undercover dog in the corner, so I appreciate everything that everybody's doing, and stay diligent, pay attention to your surroundings, and let's keep our community safe, and let's build this community. So thank you all for being here tonight. So I recess the 22nd. Thank you.